It's time for all your binge-worthy pop culture news. Welcome to Up and Adam.
Hi, guys. Welcome back. And do we have a treat for you today? Guys, we were able to steal a moment from, I can't even express how obsessed I am. Her name is Lanae Brody. She works with Hollywood Life. She's a senior reporter and host of TV Talk, and she has a podcast on Hollywood Life. Without further ado, let's bring her on. Hi.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Oh, yeah, it is morning over there, huh?
It is. I'm still drinking my, my Teresa Giudice coffee.
And I love that when you do your interviews, I always see that you have your mug with you. You're so on brand for Bravo, and it's my favorite network. So this is going to be fun.
I'm excited.
Well, I know that I stole you here to a little bit of your time to talk about the Real Housewives of Potomac. But when you mentioned to me that you had Bravo summer travels, I was like, what do you mean? What does that exactly mean? And then I was going through your Instagram feed, which, by the way, I'm going to attach that to the description of this video, guys, because you have to follow her. You've really met up with all of the Bravo celebrities. You've been busy.
I have. Every city that I went in, I made sure to hit up anyone that was living there. Some ladies you cannot get together with at the same time. I won't name names, but it was fun. I got to, hang out with some Salt Lake ladies. I got to kick it with the Family Karma cast.
Saw that.
Yes. I love that. Bershawn, Real Housewives of New York. Shout out to my girl. It's
Your
been
Shaws.
Yes, my Shaws. Which, by the way, somebody bought us lunch at that lunch. We couldn't figure out who it was, but people are so obsessed with them. And then some of them were getting jealous that they weren't invited. So Reza is still hopefully planning a pool party for all of us soon. But it's been really fun, especially with the pandemic and being able to see everybody again.
No, and I mean, honestly, when you go meet up with all of the, because I'm assuming you've done interviews with most of these people who you're meeting up with, right?
Correct.
So you're forming these relationships and now friendships based off of your interviews, which is something that, I do a lot of interviews on here as well. And I'm always trying to go meet up with people. But like you said, sometimes it's harder and more difficult to get certain people together. And I just went to Salt Lake City and was supposed to meet up with Whitney, but she had a cancellation last minute and I was devastated. So I'm, again, living vicariously through you.
Oh, yes. No, I got to see Lisa. Heather and I went out on the town. Let me just tell you, I cannot keep up with that girl, but she is they're both great times.
I could only imagine. And, it's also hard to, a lot of people don't know this, but it's hard to meet up with some of these different people, Bravo celebrities, we'll call them, while they're filming their shows. And I don't know if you met up with Heather and Lisa while they were in the middle of filming for season 2, but that's true, right? It's kind of difficult to catch them, get them, I guess, free time.
Yeah, I was actually supposed to see the Grand Dame for dinner when you saw me with Amrit and Bershawn. She was supposed to join us, but their confessional schedule got switched at the last moment. So I actually got her glam team after they finished her. They came to me, which was such a treat. So I got a little taste of Karen. And then we did a live together, but it wasn't the same as that FaceTime, of course. But yeah, when their schedules are moving, then it's really hard to, get them. They usually get one day off a week.
Did the Grand Dame, did she end up sharing with you the 3-wick candle?
No, I do not have a 3-wick candle, not to be confused with a 1-wick candle.
Yes.
I did not get the candle yet, but when I do, I will have it on full display along with right now I have I don't know if you can see my screen might be a little too dirty, my Tiffany Moon aromatherapy at tiffanymoonmd.com. My girl, shout out to her. Love her. Oh yeah, and I was also in Dallas. How can I forget my Dallas ladies? I saw Deandra and Carrie while I was there. Rest in peace, RHOP. Devastated.
Oh my gosh. And, I guess since you brought this up, Dallas, I love that franchise and I feel like it didn't get as much recognition as it should have. I've spoken on the phone a couple of times with Mama D and she is hilarious. And when she says she doesn't give a rip, she's not joking. And then I have an interview coming up this week with Dr. Tiffany Moon, which I've been fighting for. And I hate that the show has been canceled, but do you think maybe the same way that they moved Real Housewives of Miami to Peacock, that eventually we could get Dallas over to Peacock?
Maybe. I know through some sources that they were already filming, so they were trying to move forward with the show. I have no idea why it didn't stick. I mean, I could see it moving to Peacock. People on Instagram have been blowing up Tiffany about, getting her own Married to Medicine spinoff, which would be so cool. I mean, she was amazing. I love Deandra as well. Carrie's a really good time. I also loved Carrie Duber. So you never know what can happen. I never thought Miami would be back, and yet here we are.
Here we are. Okay, so I know that we're here to talk about Potomac, but before we do, I was looking into your podcast. For anyone who's been living under a rock, can you explain a little bit as to what you and Chris Rogers will be doing and talking about on this new podcast?
Yes, Chris Rogers is my amazing co-host. We're both obsessed with Bravo, obsessed. We could talk it all day, every day. You're going to eventually start hearing us recapping what you saw for the week, maybe some of our favorite stories. We may break a few news bites here and there. And our first guest was Dorinda. We went back and forth forever on Pay Attention, Please. But he and I are the biggest New Jersey fans, so we had to pay homage to our favorite franchise. And who doesn't love a good Danielle Staub moment, right? So we launched the podcast, I guess it was a little over a week ago now, with Dorinda. We have Mo, speaking of Potomac, coming up. The episode should be dropping this week. I don't want to spoil too much with our future guests, but you'll start to see wives who are coming back from the archives that we're talking about, who maybe have new projects. The lives will still be living with me on TV Talk primarily for someone who's still on the network as we speak. But for example, if somebody's got a product, they're launching a book, whatever, and their franchise isn't on, we're going to give them a platform on the podcast, as well as bringing back some of your favorite old wives.
And you know what I love too, because I was watching you and Chris snuck in the question for Dorinda as to whether or not she would eventually be returning to the show. And she kind of deflected it a little bit. And she's like, let's focus on the book. And I was like, oh, that was good, Chris. That was you tried.
I know he did try. And what I will say is that was taped the day before it was announced or sources say that Dorinda will be a part of All-Star Season 2, which my sources, multiple, have also confirmed. Get ready, Bravo fans. It's going to be amazing. I'm hearing it's not being filmed in the Berkshires, which is what a lot of the internet is saying. Yeah. But expect it to be somewhere, all I'll tease from what I've heard, is somewhere tropical.
Okay, so I'm into it. I love Dorinda. I hate the fact that she wasn't on New York, but at least we get her back in some capacity. And I also saw your interview that you did on Monique's channel. I saw your conversation. Like I said, once I found you, I've been just following all of your work. I think that you are so amazing at what you do. And I hope that have you met up with her in person yet?
I've not met with Mo in person. When I was in the DC area, she was in Florida, I believe. And then when I was in Miami, a lot of the wives were actually on their cast trip at that time. So when you talk about filming and trying to meet up, that happens. I literally landed and I had reached out to all the ladies and they were all getting ready to leave on their cast trip the next day. That's so funny. I know it happens a lot. And then when I was in New York, actually Reza and I were trying to meet up in the Hamptons, but he was only out there for the day. So I've been seeing Bravo celebrities in cities that they don't live in all summer long.
Well, actually, when Monique was in Florida, she ended up staying here in Palm Beach, and I saw that she was in town. I did an interview with her, and I was like, hey, I literally can see your place from my condo, so we need to meet up. And we ended up hanging out 3 times, going to a fun little cigar lounge. I got to know her so much better, and I'm like, you were amazing on the show, but you were so much better in person. I love her. I think you're obviously going to get on with her. I can tell that you would get on with anybody, but,
I love her. I'm hoping once she gets out here, we will, connect in person. I actually met with, I will never forget it, Teresa and Caroline. They came to LA. This was when I was working for the magazines, probably 8 years ago. And I picked both of them up on Rodeo Drive and we went and had drinks. I have the craziest Bravo stories I could tell them for days. We had the best time.
I'm jealous. I want to come party with you.
Yes, I'm a good time. We'll have to.
All right. Listen, I can just look at your Instagram and tell already. But since we're talking about Potomac, you watched the episode, right?
Oh my gosh, did I? I've always told people, don't ever sleep on Potomac. People I know slept season 1, 2, 3, 4. They woke up for 5 and I'm like, welcome to the party.
But, well, and now they're experiencing some of the highest rated, episodes for their franchise ever. So they're killing it, especially when so many of our other franchises like New York, Orange County, even Dallas, their ratings, even Atlanta, weren't doing the best. So there's something to say about that.
Yes, those ladies are killing it this season. Like, shout out to them. I think the casting is so on point for that show, and I've been here for it all season. But like since season 1, I have been watching. I'm obsessed with Potomac.
You're like, don't sleep on Potomac.
Don't sleep on Potomac.
Last night's episode, we see where the feud kind of carries over with Dr. Wendy Osefo, and she's fuming because this Eddie cheating rumor has surfaced. And Ashley kind of dropped a bomb in everyone's lap and then was like, hey, gotta go.
Bye.
Yeah, I gotta go. Sorry, see you later. And even, Robyn was looking around and she's like, wait, Ashley just dropped a bomb. Are we supposed to be mad at her? And I'm like, Robyn, I want to love you for the show so bad, but just you even asking Giselle, we need you to have a little bit more of independence. Is that fair?
It's actually interesting you bring that up because I asked the Grand Dame about that. I think my live with her was last week or the week before. I get them all mixed up these days. But I asked her the same question thinking she was going to be like, yeah, Robyn does what Giselle does. I think that's how the edit is supposed to look. But even the Grand Dame was like, no, Robyn's her own person. I will say she saved herself for me last night with that dance. And then was circulating in my feed. I loved it. 10 out of 10. She should have won that competition.
And she posted the unseen dance that we obviously didn't get to see on the show. And I was like, oh my gosh, you were killing it. Robyn was busting out the dance move. I like that.
She sure was.
Speaking, because they were auditioning, sort of. They were kind of playing this little game for Candace's new music video, Drive Back. Have you seen it? Which I feel like at this point, I shouldn't even ask you anymore. I just know that you've seen everything.
Yeah, well, and also I loved. It was like the most iconic line, I feel like, of the entire season when she was like naming every single person that's driven back to their man. Like, who hasn't, number one? But she literally was like, Ashley's been, what did she say? Like, more times than I can count.
She's like, she's in permanent reverse.
Yeah, yes, put it in reverse and honey, just keep reversing. Like, I thought that was hilarious. I love this. I love the song. Candace is very talented.
She, for the show, I think there have been like a couple of times where I've seen Candace and I'm like, it almost seems like sometimes there's a common denominator here. There was the Monique situation, the Ashley Darby butter knife situation. We know the Mia Thornton throwing lettuce back and forth. I'm like, why, for someone who is so talented, why are you always catching yourself in these little riffs? We don't see Giselle or Robyn like, having these little altercations. Ashley Darby really didn't even participate in that. I'm like, come on, she's brilliant. The way that she articulates is, she's just so good on the show. I have to give that to her because I know that Candace doesn't necessarily love me, per Twitter, I've seen. But for Candace, I think that people kind of sleep on her, especially because of the Monique situation and what happened. It really divided the fans.
Yeah, I agree with you completely there. I mean, when you think of Candace, and when I say Candace, immediately you go to the vineyard, right?
Right.
So, and Monique walked away from the show, and that was her like lasting moment, was like, this isn't serving me, so I'm leaving. So therefore, I feel like the fans kind of view them differently. But like, I don't know about you, I'm definitely seeing a softer side of Candace this season. And I feel like as a fan, that makes me resonate with her a little bit differently than maybe I have in the past.
Have you ever been in the situation where, like Karen Huger, where you've had two friends kind of go at it back and forth and you've had to remain like, okay, I'm Switzerland on this. I think that you're a little bit wrong. You're a little bit wrong. And I'm not choosing a side. Ashley Darby did not appreciate that. Not Ashley Darby, Candace did not appreciate that. Whereas Monique was kind of like, okay, I see where you're coming from, but at least you're not closing the door on me.
Absolutely. I think we've all been put in the middle before. And I think Housewives is all about Switzerland. There's a Switzerland in every cast, like Jersey, Dolores, hands down. Like you can kind of name like the Switzerland in every single cast. New York this season, I kind of feel like Sonia's the Switzerland in some ways, just because Sonia's like Sonia living her Sonia life. Like Beverly Hills, it's also a little bit harder, but like I would maybe say like a Crystal is a little Switzerland-ish, Kyle.
Switzerland-ish. She doesn't care.
Yeah, like Kyle can be pretty Switzerland. Like, and I guess what I mean by Switzerland is someone who like everyone kind of gets along with on some, you know, no, like stays out of the drama, but like also gets along. Actually, I'm going to say it's Tyler Richards in Beverly Hills. I feel like she's like someone that like everyone kind of, but I can like name the Switzerland in every cast. This cast, I don't know if I can name a Switzerland.
No, I mean, I feel like there's a little bit of a rift brewing with everyone. And honestly, for Dr. Wendy Osefo, she came in, this is her sophomore season, and she, I think, came in having this like preconceived idea from the first season as to how to navigate this, what this would look like. And oh yeah, like I know how to do this now. I got this. And then boom, she's getting hit from all sides. She gets the Eddie cheating rumors. She was trying to defend Giselle at the beginning when it came to Mia Thornton being, you know, questioning her a little bit. We didn't get to see the scene where they got into a little bit of a verbal back and forth at Candace's pajama party, but we know that this little feud is brewing. And then she gets the bomb dropped in her lap when they go to Karen's swearing in ceremony, finding out that there's another candle coming.
Yeah. And then the Grand Dame did take to Twitter saying that all the ladies, including Wendy, knew. I'm waiting. I haven't seen yet. It might just be too early for me if Dr. Wendy has responded to that claim. But those two are such tight girls. Like, I have to tell you, they're such good friends that I really hope that this doesn't cause an issue. But like, also, I'm kind of started thinking in my head, like, how many 3 wicks versus 1 wicks do I have? And like, would that stop me? Like, no, as a Bravo fan, I'm going to support both of the ladies. And I feel like it's okay. Like, they're like the Grand Dame said, there is enough room for everybody. I believe that too.
I agree with that. I agree. And I did want to ask you, because you have been watching since season 1, and we always know when we get new housewives or even new friends of that are being tested for the show, we as fans, I feel like, know if they're going to work or if they're probably not going to last. Like Jen, who was brought into the Real Housewives of Dallas, they were showing her in the promos, and then we didn't get to see or hear a whole lot from her at all. And we were kind of wondering, what is her position on the show at this point? But there's a lot of dominant personalities, and this is an ensemble cast. So you kind of have to get in there and hang with the best of them, or you get forgotten about.
Totally. You have to bring your A game. I mean,
you have to bring your A game.
You have to resonate with the fans. I mean, I will, like Jackie Goldschneider, for example, she gets a lot of flack. But I think this season, from what I'm hearing, she is going to really change those people's perspective on her.
For the longest time, I was one of those fans who was sort of like, what are we doing here with Jackie? What does she bring to the table? But something that people forget about is a lot of the other women, I don't know if it's that they're necessarily afraid of Teresa, but they don't really stand up to her, except for Dolores. Dolores will call a spade, right? But for Jackie, she's not afraid of it. She's not afraid of the conflict. And she's like, this is right and this is wrong. And I don't care if you think this is your show. I'm going to say whatever I want, and you're not going to stop me. If I get kicked off the show, my life will be just fine.
Yep, she's got money, honey, and she is a smart cookie. I love Jackie. You know, people ask me all the time, like, who's your favorite housewife? Who's your least favorite? Like, I really don't think I can name one housewife that I don't like. And it's so hard for me to pick a favorite. I have like my personal favorites, like from TV, and then my personal favorites that I've gotten to kiki with. So like, they're in 2 different groups.
Okay, I like that. Well, speaking of our newbies for this season, we have Mia Thornton and Askella. I wanted to ask you, one, do you think that they did appropriate casting by giving Mia Thornton the full-time position and not Askella? And do you think that these ladies will make it to another season? So I'm going to bring up Askella, right? And then we have Mia Thornton.
I do. I think both of them will be back for another season. I think it's kind of hard to go from friend to full-time. Sutton did it, but you know, Sutton was supposed to be full-time. The only reason she wasn't was because her kids couldn't film. So I think that it's going to be the same role next season. I don't think you can like mix up the cast too much going into a new season. And I think there's been so many shakeups in the Bravo Housewives community this year that if you have something that's working, please just keep it.
Isn't that kind of a double standard? I'm just waking up over here too. And coming off of a weekend in Miami with Dana Wilkie, $25,000 sunglasses.
Oh, hey now.
She knows how to hang with the best of them. So, whoop, okay, we're getting back into it. But don't you think there's a little bit of a double standard here with that? Only because like Brandy Glanville on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills never showed her kids, but held a full-time housewife position for a few seasons. And then now we're hearing someone like Sutton, because she couldn't film with her kids, they're like, no, we'll have to take that full-time role away from you. And the same thing with Shannon Bedore. She just had to go to court to fight over her full-time position.
Right. Yeah. I kind of have thought the same thing too, is like I think it depends on what your story is and what you're bringing to the table. Like you have to, if you're talking about your divorce, are you going to show your kids? And also with Brandy, like they really wanted in on that Leanne, Eddie trifecta situation. So therefore they had to make some sacrifices.
They had to make
I don't know what would happen now if they wanted her back and Eddie said no, and thank God Shannon fought for those children, because I love watching her kids on TV.
And knowing that Heather Dubrow is coming back but now we've seen photos of them walking together. They're getting along. So obviously this rift was addressed, but I don't think Shannon Bedore was excited at all that Heather Dubrow was coming back on the show. And she definitely wasn't happy about the fact that Kelly Dodd was taken off the show. And we've all heard from Kelly Dodd. We know that she also has her own feelings, right? So
yes, I am so here for a fancy pants return. Bring on the champagne, honey. It is about to get hot in here. I'm so excited. I am so excited for RHOC to return.
I like that. All right. So back to Potomac for just a minute. Do you think that we will have any resolve with this Eddie cheating rumor situation? Or do you think that this is going to continue to escalate and we're going to lose friendships? Because it was Dr. Wendy Osefo who did an interview saying for however many relationships were formed this season, for every one, there were 2 that were broken. So I'm just curious what relationships would have been broken.
I mean, I don't know about you, but I was like watching last night's episode and I'm like, well, wait a minute. Didn't we just talk about Karen and Ray at this table? And now we're talking like, yes, it was mentioned about Wendy and Eddie, but like Giselle I feel like we just were getting into the thick of the Ray, Karen, Giselle, situation. So now that we're pivoting over to Wendy, I'm like, wait, is that one coming back? Because, I love Giselle. Like I said, I'm very Switzerland with all of my wives. I love watching Giselle. I think she's great TV. I think she's smart. I think she's a boss. And I feel for every wife who's going through what they're going through in their personal life. But like, I don't see this dying anytime soon. And I don't see Dr. Wendy just forgiving and forgetting anytime soon.
Well, do you think, since we're talking about Giselle and Karen, I feel like this feud, since you've been a day one watcher of Potomac, you were one of the few who wasn't actually sleeping on the franchise. But do you think that this can ever be repaired? Or do they both realize at this point, this is TV, we know that people love this riff, we'll come together, we'll celebrate each other, and then next season we'll start all over again and we'll start tearing each other down? But they're even though I love the Grand Dame and I like watching Giselle, I can tell Giselle on the show is a producer's dream. They give her the tidbits, she drops them, and then she's like, I'm good. I didn't say anything. That was actually Darby who said that.
Yep. Giselle comes in like a tornado and then she's out.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously she's good TV. They gave her Bravo's chat room, which she does a great job with, Portia, in my opinion. And when I found out that Karen was going to be on too, I was like, whoa, what is this going to look like? But I will tell you that those two in real life do not get along. I can always see a resolution between people. Always. Like Margaret and Jennifer Aiden. Will one day they be able to be in the same room and like maybe grab a drink at the table together? I would say they'll be able to do it before Karen and Giselle will ever bury their hatchet.
Because this is deep, like you put hashtag tax reform on your back. You've said things about Ray, potentially being in the ground. They've both gone after each other's relationships, even though that they're filming a show. At the end of the day, it's like, how many blows can you take before you're like, I mean, even Luann just said that about Sonia, but that's so surface level compared to the digs that these women take at each other.
Yeah, I mean, kids are off limits, in my humble opinion. And as a kid, that means even if they're 21, like that is a housewife kid, in my opinion. So like that's off limits. Marriages, unless you're going to drop a binder of receipts like our girl Monique does, why are you doing that? Like, let people live. Like I saw something that I resonated with. If J-Lo and Ben Affleck can get back together and everyone's here for it and cheering and like forgetting what happened, let people live. Why is that like on a pedestal? But Jamal and Giselle can't get back together or like whatever. You know what I mean? Let people live.
Leave them alone. And that's so funny that you said that, because it's almost like I can tell how you were feeling now watching last season of The Real Housewives of New Jersey when Jackie brought up the Gia Giudice, I don't want to say the word analogy that she used. And then Teresa also hitting Jackie with these cheating rumors. But again, there were no receipts. We didn't see a photo. Like Michael Darby will give us a good receipt. He always gets busted. You know what I mean? But for some of these other ones, we don't get the receipt. So you're like, okay, this kind of has no merit. You can't really use this. You're just creating a storyline, and now I have to go defend my family because you said it, and we know how the media works. If you said it, then there's going to be these super fans who are really going to be like, oh yeah, Eddie's a bad man. He cheats on her. But we don't have any proof.
I know. And I feel for her because, like, she's got kids, and her kids are too young to be reading the blogs. But, like, other kids on these franchises, like, they can read. So I feel like sometimes these ladies got to be a little careful. I don't know. But, like, Giselle literally came in there like a tornado. Like I said, I was like, wait a minute. Are we done talking about Karen, or are we going back to Karen this season? Because I kind of want to, like, close the Karen chapter before I'm moving on to Dr. Wendy's chapter.
I agree with that. And, Mia Thornton, I know that she's coming in and she's trying to figure out her way on the show and where does she fit in. But I'm noticing that she, just like Ebony K. Williams actually did this, I think, twice on Real Housewives of New York. She regurgitated information that wasn't necessarily correct. And she got busted, Mia, in this episode by saying that Giselle called Dr. Wendy Osefo a weak B-word. And that's not what she said at all. She just kind of let the women know if she can't handle the rumors, if this is too much for her, she probably shouldn't be filming with the group.
Totally. And I think she deciphered it in her head. And I feel like her overall synopsis wasn't off base. But if she didn't say those words in this situation, you shouldn't relay the message.
Especially because in the Housewives world, it's the word. You just need the one word, and that changes the whole narrative.
Right. I agree completely. I think Mia, I feel like, has been trying to mend fences between people, but, like, because she's a freshman, there's a science to it. She'll learn.
Askella kind of has to get that too, because she comes in and she's coming in hot, almost like trying to get her full-time position, calling Giselle out at the table when Giselle's trying to address Dr. Wendy Osefo, showing more of her body. And she's like, well, I want to know about your situation. What's going on with Jamal? Or we need to talk about this. And we're like, we need to talk about, who are you? Even though we're excited to get to know you, but you're coming in like you've been filming with these women for the last 5 seasons.
I know. And who knows if she was? I mean, they may have just never shown it, but I don't know. I'm here for her. I like her opinion. I think last night she did a great job. I gave her a 10 out of 10 in my book. Especially because now she's not just, I'm Team Robyn for Robyn introducing me to the group. I'm looking at Robyn from a different lens, and I'm saying, oh, you might be a little bit different when you're with Giselle, and I don't necessarily love how you're acting. Right. Yeah, no, I think I was very surprised, like I said, to hear Karen say, no, Robyn is her own person. So it now leads me to believe that maybe that's just the edit she got. But after seeing those dance moves, Robyn's definitely her own person. You're like, I'll give it to her. All right, Lanae. Well, I also know that you're super busy, and I didn't want to keep all of your time. We're at about 30 minutes here, and I just wanted to say I appreciate you so much. Thank you for joining me. I can't wait to listen and watch more of your podcast, especially if you and Chris are going to keep getting those questions in there. And even though Dorinda kind of, gave you the stiff arm on that, answering that question, I'm sure you guys will have so much to reveal. So I will be watching along with everybody else. Thank you so much. And if you have nothing to do in 15 minutes, you can join me over at Hollywood Life. We're going live with $1 Million Listings Josh Altman very shortly. Sorry, Josh Flagg. I've Josh Flagged this. I've Josh Flagged today. I have Josh Altman later. We have a couple of the $1 Million Listing LA people this week, with the premiere kicking off on Thursday night at 8 p.m. on Bravo. So please join me over at Hollywood Life today. A quick tidbit, I tried real estate when I first moved back to Los Angeles. I left LA, moved to Thailand. I don't know what I was thinking, then moved to New York and then back to LA. And I was like, I'm going to try real estate because I love $1 Million Listing. So I was working in the same Rodeo office with Josh. And I remember just watching him, and he's so hilarious, but so like cocky in the best way, because it has this kind of humor to it. He just walks around and does not care. He's like, I'm Josh Flagg. I'm good. Yeah, he does not care. He's very successful. I just finished watching the premiere. It's really good, so everyone should get excited. And then we have Katie Flood later this afternoon from Below Deck Med, so please join us at Hollywood Life.
Definitely. And I will be attaching your podcast in the description of this video. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day, and I hope that we can steal you back again one day.
Yes, I'd love to. This was so fun. Thank you so much. I'm always happy to talk Bravo. It was nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, guys, make sure that you go follow Lanae. She is amazing. She's always talking to new people, incredible content coming our way. And if you haven't already, go ahead, smash that like button. Let's get more eyes on this video, period, even though we're ending it. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell because you guys don't want to miss anything we have coming up. Also, we will be dropping another pre-record today. You don't want to miss it, I promise you. So keep your eyes out. See you next time. Bye, guys.